Hi everyone, I'm Imogen from Course Report. We are a resource for choosing the right bootcamp for you. We have a directory of different coding schools, a blog, and interviews with founders, instructors, and students, all to help you work out which bootcamp you want to go to. So today I'm joined by Jack, who took the full stack immersive bootcamp at Digital Crafts, and he's going to show us the final project he worked on at bootcamp. So at Course Report, we hear fairly regularly from folks wondering if they can build their idea for a product during a coding bootcamp. And when Jack graduated from Digital Crafts about 3 months ago, he did just that. So I'm excited to hear all about it and how he got his project ready for market. So Jack, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you.
So before we actually look at your project, I'm curious about what you were doing before you decided to go to Digital Crafts.
Well, I probably spent the best part of 10 years working in journalism. Before this, I was at CNN for a period of time, and then I went to Al Jazeera America for a bit of startup kind of news organization thing there. And then I ended up back at CNN for a period of time, but then most recently I was actually at a company called Data Miner, which is a very much social media news gathering driven based company. So I've spent a lot of time kind of like working on the sort of gathering of information, but typically for sort of journalistic purposes. A lot of it's sort of spent on, which relates to its projects ultimately, but spent on Twitter or different parts of social media, finding information as it's happening all around the world. So it was only natural that I eventually kind of turned it into wanted to turn it into what I'm doing right now, this event-based business. But previously I have actually sort of like tested the water to various applications. I spent a little, about a year and a half having launched a mobile pickup game app. It was kind of like idea of sort of like, a real-time matchmaking application so you can find people playing pickup sports around you. It did okay, got a decent number of downloads, but the problem was that the market fit for it was actually the people downloading it were all just like me. They're all people who wanted to find games rather than people who are actually starting games. So it had like very much kind of the one kind of user, didn't have the other kind of user. But it was a great experience, and I learned how to sort of like, work with a technical person, another developer. And I was always kind of remember thinking from then on out, like how much I kind of was jealous of what he was able to do and how much I wanted to be able to get my hands dirty what he was doing as well. But, I did that for like sort of 18 months. I learned a lot from it. Ultimately, I had to close that, and then I moved back into sort of like full-time career journalism again. And then I sort of did that for another few more years. And it was a great experience. I'm really glad I spent as long as I did in journalism, particularly working at the companies I did, and have the experience I managed to gather sort of in terms of management, sort of growing teams, hiring people, working with different problems, and kind of the sort of the very much people side of like working in a big organization. So that was all very good doing that. But ultimately, it's got to a point when I kind of thought to myself, like, man, like I've been doing this for a while now, but like, if I could go back and do things differently, I'd always wanted to nerd out a bit more and get behind the computer and actually sort of build some things. So for I just turned 30. It's like, okay, well, I could just be doing what I'm doing now, or I could just make a change and just do it. Because there's only no time like the present. I don't want to be sort of find myself way later in life and thinking, Christ, why didn't I give it a go? So, I did it, quit the job, picked up the coding bootcamp course in Atlanta, Digital Crafts, and, just kind of found myself where I am now, really enjoyed the course and no regrets about doing it.
That's awesome. Wow, it sounds like you've had a really interesting career journey so far.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And so, when you decided you wanted to go to a coding bootcamp, was it always in your mind that you wanted to, build your own product and become an entrepreneur, or were you simply wanting to just get into a tech career?
It was a bit of both, truth be told. Like, I think at my heart, I knew that I wanted to get into it for the entrepreneurial side of it. But like, I've also spent a lot of time thinking about coding and sort of web development and how it fits in other career types. And social skill set you learn from it is very much like a modern day kind of like, trade skill. So it's something that is applicable to all sorts of industry, all sorts of kind of jobs afterwards. So like, even if the entrepreneurial side doesn't work out, hope it does, planning on it working out. But if it doesn't, at least it kind of opens up the opportunity for all sorts of freelance employment or career employment in other companies. It just really opens up a whole new landscape of jobs for opportunities out there. So I went into it planning for it to hopefully lead towards what I'm doing now. But I was always open to the fact that it could end up being something else. But the main thing was that I found this is like one of the first times where I can get myself stuck into doing something 5 6 hours pass by. I have no idea how it's happened. It's just like, genuinely enjoy it. So, it was whatever was going to come from it, I knew was going to be better than what I was doing at the time.
That all makes a lot of sense. And so did you research a number of different coding boot camps, or was digital crafts always the kind of one you had in mind?
No, I did spend a little time looking at different courses. I'm actually based in London at the moment, and I was back and sort of looked at a couple of the local courses here, but then I've got family in Atlanta, so I was like, okay, so maybe I'll spend the summer in Atlanta and go over there and check out the courses over there at the same time. So it was kind of worked out quite well that there was quite a few good bootcamp courses in Atlanta. Digital crafts ends up being sort of, the cream of the crop as far as I'm concerned. I did go around on a few tours of some of the other courses, but I didn't find a kind of the tours weren't particularly stimulating. They didn't really I feel like I didn't have enough enthusiasm or behind what I was doing, what I was looking to do, particularly because it's not a cheap thing either. I mean, it's a lot of money to go into this, and you want to feel like someone's really putting the effort in for it, rather than just kind of like walking around a building and kind of just showing you the ropes and not really making you feel stimulated. And I was also really turned on by the fact that this course, that digital crafts, actually has an entrance exam. I like the idea that it's more difficult to get on it. To me, that sort of shows a level of intensity that they're looking for, rather than just bringing people on for the sake of just real curriculum as well. So I spent a lot of time researching what I'd learned coming out of this. And I thought it was skills that were much more applicable to what I'd want to do afterwards. The full stack factors, web development is a big factor for me.
And so once you decided you were going to go to digital crafts, got there, started the program, what was the actual learning experience like? Like, maybe you can tell me a bit about a typical day.
Yeah, so sure, you get in. It was great. I mean, it was honestly it was not like college. It was like work, but learning. So it was, you kind of, it's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for the most part, or maybe a little earlier than 5. You can make it 5 if you want to stick around a bit longer. But you'd get in, we'd sit down, spend the first part of the day kind of almost like a lecture where the sort of teacher would talk us through sort of what we're looking to do. Then we'd do exercises. Then we'd do kind of sort of get code exercises with the teacher, try and make sure we get the concepts and the base kind of level of what we're doing. And then typically in the afternoon we could set free to do it yourself, and then do the additional exercises you can do if you want to when you get out of the class. And we'd do that for probably a couple of weeks at a time, and it'd be a lot of information to take in. So definitely some serious learning, not just kind of like you can't phone it in. You do take out of it what you put into it, so you've really make an effort at it. So you do that for a couple of weeks, kind of the sort of morning. Well, for each sort of part of the syllabus, it's probably start off the first portion of it by coming in, learning it, practicing code along, do some questions, breaking it down to very small chunks of what that part of the exercise, what that part of the curriculum that is. And then it would sort of branch out into the next week, be given projects to do a couple of sort of template projects with the teacher, and then obviously push off to doing your own projects afterwards. And then there'd be a proper a mini project which would take a week for, to kind of work with other team members and set up yourself. And that'd be the ultimate kind of at that point you've made enough mistakes trying to learn this stuff that you actually get through and get, well, damn, I know what I've done now. So it was a very good setup for the actual education process.
And so you mentioned that there were quite a few projects as part of the curriculum. How many projects in total did you work on?
I think 4. And then some sort of mini projects in and around it as well, and then the opportunity to kind of do some of your own actual work outside of it. I found myself taking some of the projects we'd started in class, and then I'd end up kind of doing an extra sort of do more with it outside of class. Ended up building a couple of games and trying experimenting over platforms, and then building another application outside of class with another friend, and just really just taking advantage of the fact that the resources you have on offer. But I think it was 4 major projects and then a capstone. Might be 1. I think that's how it was.
That's awesome. And I'll get you to share your screen in a minute to show me your capstone. But can you just tell me a little bit about what the kind of sort of brief was for the capstone? Is there something that you were working on throughout the program, or was it just the last few weeks of the program?
So the capstone was the last few weeks of the program, but I went into this course. I had in my notepad before I did this course because I wanted to go into this and really take advantage of this of like my own sort of like, business purposes afterwards. I think I wrote down like 5 or 6 different business ideas or application ideas that like I was very keen to try and sort of bend the curriculum around whatever I was learning to try and double serve it and kind of almost like make one of the applications I was wanting to do, whatever that part of the curriculum was. So I ended up sort of folded an extra week or so of work onto my capstone on the course because as we're doing our React front end project, I used that as an opportunity to build out the front end for what I was going to look to do for my main project. So I always kind of went into this sort of an idea of some of the things I wanted to do. So like, the course is flexible on this instead of it just being sort of limited to what you're doing here and then, as long as it's something that you're like genuinely putting the work in and pushing yourself. We'd go for it and do it. So yeah.
Can you share your screen and show me the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me show you. So can you see it right now? Yeah. So this is my final project. So the product's called Social Mize, and basically what I've built here is I've taken advantage of my previous journalism background in sort of like social search and digital news and combined it with sort of newfound sort of technical skills to build a dashboard which is suitable for sort of businesses and social media managers and marketing directors and leveraging sort of my ability to time content, but doing it for kind of content that businesses can take advantage of in communities and find new customers. So instead of a marketing director that's already stretched and being pulled in a million different directions, trying to like engage with the community, trying to build content and trying to do all these different things, instead of them having to learn how to build out search and really spend time putting together big decks and this kind of stuff, I know how to do this stuff. I've been trained on it and I can build things pretty well that a lot of people can't build. So what this is ultimately like, you sign up for Accountwise, and I put together a social deck with Socialwise, which will then present you with new customers, keep you across competitors and your own brand content online. So, this is what it looks like. Some of the typical problems that people run into are engagement problems. They put tweets out there, no one responds. Noise, there's a lot of noise on Twitter, so it's hard to kind of get yourself out there. And there's also, paid adverts. You put an advert out there. There's no guarantee that anyone's going to see what you're doing, so you scroll past it because everyone just kind of scrolls past it. So what I'm doing here is it's a bit of a new approach. You can tackle what's on there. So this hypothetical account and a demo account I'll show you is for an ice cream account. So basically this shows you a stream of tweets coming through of people talking about different people having real conversations about what your product is. So this is a guy, if you're selling ice cream, see a tweet of somebody saying, does anybody want to stress eat a full liter of ice cream with me? So there's the kind of person that you can actually reach out to there and then on Twitter, say, yo, we sell ice cream, you want to stress eat some of ours, here's a 10% discount code, and then get people like then and there kind of really reach out to new customers. They can branch out to sort of influencer trends. So I've built it so you can see, so you can see what influencers are talking about in your industry. So there's some examples like people start talking about National Dessert Day. You can then turn around as your business, make sure you run a promo for this, get content out that takes advantage of this and pump yourself higher up in the hashtag ratings. And this is a cool feature as well that's kind of taken off more than I was expecting it to, is the ability to monitor your competition. I didn't realize how much people wanted to get across this. So I can set it up so you can see every mention and every interaction or media mention that any of your competitors are seeing. So in this like a demo account I'm about to show you for hypothetical Ben and Jerry's account I've made here, you'll be able to see everyone's talking about Haagen-Dazs and talking about Cold Stone, Dairy Queen, you name it. You'll see all those other mentions in there. So this means you can stay across if people are having positive interactions or if they're having negative interactions. If they're having negative interactions, you can then sort of swoop in and give them a positive experience of your brand. Or if they're in positive interactions, you can then learn from the success of another competitor and find a way where you can then take advantage of that for yourself as well. And it's also a great way to sort of stay across what's also being said about your brand as well, all on one screen. So yeah, so it's basically a tool that's pretty much designed for you to really sort of grow your community and take advantage of what's out there on social media. And instead of just kind of like waiting for every people to come to you, you can sort of be active and go out there on the front foot. So you can see they've got 4 streams of Twitter, and then we just added one this past week of Instagram. So I'm using the Twitter API and the Instagram API here. is pretty cool, because basically what I've had to do on this is that instead of using this traditional sort of really expensive Twitter Stream API, I've kind of found a way of, I've taken a way of kind of building this out on my own back end, to where I'm sort of like, bringing in data using their traditional API, and then kind of like putting it out there according to the search, and anytime anything changes, to then pump it through to the front end on this side, and then kind of set up per account basis, so it doesn't run into any rate limiting issues. And then I've got Instagram happening over here, which is sort of this just a much more raw public feed of whoever's talking about ice cream right now. So like, yeah, so you can see here on the left side, the potential customer stream. These are people right now talking about ice cream. So like if Ben and Jerry's and this person's talking about, okay, there's one person selling ice cream. There's one person celebrating ice cream. You could click on engage. Not sure if that opens up on your screens. Can you see this right now? Yep. So there you go. This person's talking about ice cream and wine. So as sounds like a good night to me. But so again, you could reach that as a person, say, okay, if you right then and there say, you want to buy some ice cream? Here's some ice cream. Here's another coupon to our place. And you can get right there in with this person talking about. And so you can see how fast and how many people are talking about this there. So this is like more, instead of putting like content out there and hoping people see it, this is much more about engaging with the customers, engaging with potential customers, and finding people out there and going after them. So like you can see here, this is your brand stream for Ben and Jerry's. It's the hypothetical account we're in. This person's complaining about the amount of cookie dough inside their choco caramel cookie dough ice cream. So again, you saw that this tweet just came through. You can get into that person and interact with them directly. Got people complaining about also this person talking about sort of Ben and Jerry's being associated with the White House. So it gives you an idea of like different areas you can stay across in what you do. So again, this is all stuff that people can already do on social media in some form or another. And you can pay thousands of dollars for some of the big ticket items that do this, but this is much more focused towards sort of the smaller and medium-sized businesses who have really got enough on their plate. They can't spend the time to hire somebody who's going to cost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this stuff for them, and they can just leverage my sort of social media consultancy experience in this and have a tool which they can use and stay across this and kind of like plug in and plug out. They don't have to set anything up. Just meet with me for a consultation, then kind of put it together and build it.
Wow, it's awesome. What an awesome idea. It's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Since the course, I've been working on this as well for the past couple of months or so.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned a few APIs and things that you used to build it, but what other technologies did you use to build the project? Was it mainly using JavaScript or what else were you using?
Yeah, I mean, it's predominantly JavaScript. It's got a PostgreSQL database, so the Node backend, the React front end. Trying to think what else got going. Hosted on DigitalOcean on an Ubuntu server. The DevOps side of this deployment was pretty difficult. I'm not going to lie, that was more of a learning experience than I was planning on it being. I'm trying to think what other technologies using this. Yeah, I think those are the main ones.
That makes sense. And was there anything that you had to learn that wasn't covered in the curriculum that you needed to use for this project?
Yeah, so during the actual capstone time period on the course, the main thing I had to learn before that wasn't covered in the curriculum was WebSockets, because what you're seeing with how these are populating immediately, like that tweet that just came through, is these are all WebSockets connected to my backend. So effectively, I ended up sort of creating my own. It's like the Twitter streaming APIs. You connect that using a WebSocket. But because I couldn't use that one because it's obviously really expensive, and I set up my own sort of backend for it, I basically kind of replicated the way that Twitter does it by setting up WebSockets on my backend and my front end, which kind of replicate the way that Twitter does it officially. So I kind of make it look like a sort of similar experience that you get on TweetDeck or something. I think WebSockets sort of early technology you do, and then, but I think the biggest thing about coding is that you kind of learn that you don't really know anything until you encounter it. So like so the curriculum covered the broadness of what we're doing here, but then like when you get into specific cases of like, moving this piece of JSON data from there to here, and how like, Twitter handles it compared to how Instagram handles it, everything was definitely a learning experience. And those aren't the kind of things you honestly expect to be covered on a curriculum. It's just they give you the tools for you to go out and figure it. I felt like it was in a good place for that.
And what would you say was the biggest sort of roadblock or challenge in building this?
I think it's moving a lot of data around. It's bringing it. When you think of lots of different steps, you've got the processing it when the account signs up, moving to the database, moving from the database to the back end, then in the back end making that as a request to Twitter, bringing it back from Twitter, writing it into the database again, pumping it to a WebSocket which monitors changes, and then putting it from that to the front end again, and then making sure it moves from different parts of the front end all around nicely, and then rendering it. So it was just taking like a little piece of this, it's easier to go hit the Twitter API and get your JSON data back, but then when you've got to like move it around so many steps, hoping it stays in the right form. And you'd find yourself in this plenty of times when you're like, killing yourself over why you can't see something properly, getting undefined coming through. And then you just end up sort of realizing, okay, it's just like, I missed one period. I need to do like data dot this one more time. And then it's just like, spend 3 hours on that. And then it ends up being a pretty quick fix. But I'd say that was the main challenge on this.
Yeah, that does sound intense. And then what was your kind of timeline from building the project and then kind of putting it live and launching it as an actual business?
I'd say, so what I built and what I displayed in my demo day in the Capstone is not the same. It may look visually kind of similar to what I got here, but it's a completely different back. It's almost a bit of a complete rewrite, because what I did that day, what I did on the initial building worked fine for one user account for what I was doing for that course. But then I realized very quickly afterwards that I needed to completely refactor the number of it for expanding for additional accounts. And there's a couple of times when I had sort of real stress moments when I thought, Christ, is this actually something doable for multiple accounts, or I just kind of built something that isn't going to work like that? But so it's taken a decent amount of refactor to kind of make it more scalable. So that was possibly the biggest thing since then. But I think, spent like a few weeks off on vacation after the course, and then I've pretty much been working on it since. So this is probably a good 3 months worth of extra kind of like work on it. Maybe a couple of months of actual coding work, because obviously with like terms of launch, you've got to build up your social account, draw social content, start figuring out your kind of launch strategy, start marketing and all that kind of stuff as well, which is, a lot of work.
Yeah, that is. And what stage are you at now? Are you ready to start accepting clients or?
So right now I'm accepting beta applicants. Probably going to be starting accepting paid clients very shortly, because it does seem to be working out quite nicely. And it's just one of those things where the pressure that comes with taking money from somebody for one of your services, you just want to really make sure it doesn't crash the first time they use it, and then you end up giving a bad experience. It's pretty much there. It's very much at the point where I was sort of sitting to myself earlier thinking, okay, what's stopping me from like really going on the offensive now and spreading this out there? And it's about time.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And so what are your hopes and plans for the future of SocialWise?
Hopefully this is going to turn into I'm trying to turn this into like a very stable, reasonable, profitable business. I mean, I think there's enough my basic sort of like thought process behind this is like, you consider how many customers a store around the corner from you needs to get to stay profitable with their overheads and what they operate on. And you consider what that number is as a percentage of their local population and how many people they have to hit to be successful, versus what I'm trying to do here when I'm focusing on businesses that might have predominantly online customers, or businesses, honestly, any English speaking business that sells anything. And what percentage of that overall potential marketplace I need to hit for it to be a profitable business at whatever price I put it at is minuscule compared to what a brick and mortar store does. So I hope that this turns into something that, provide me with a decent salary, grow to have other employees and kind of expand and scale out there. Who knows what happens in the future.
That's exciting. And so is it just you working on it so far, or have you got other collaborators?
It's me for the most part full time. I've got one other person I've been talking to about bringing on soon. I've had other people kind of like, I've got a couple of people I can consult with in terms of like who work more in the marketing side of the industry currently, and sort of VC firmy kind of side of things, just so I've got an idea of what people are looking for, so I can kind of sort of make sure that the presentation and what I'm looking to put together overall kind of fits for what they're looking to do. But what other people are doing, I've got one person I might bring on soon to kind of sort of help with sort of the marketing efforts.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for showing me your project. I think it looks amazing, and I'm very excited for you, to continue working on it.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, are you focusing all your time now on social wise, or are you kind of, taking on any other projects or sort of job prospects?
It's pretty much all on this. The process behind this was, spent a lot of money on the course, and missed out on a lot of money by not working my previous job anymore. So, if I'm going to really focus on dedicating this period of time I have now in the next few months solely on this to give it the absolute best opportunity for success that I can get out of this. And then, focus on if it doesn't work out, then jobs or other opportunities.
And I know that Digital Crafts has, resources to help their students find jobs, but I was wondering how Digital Crafts, the instructors or anyone else, has been able to kind of give you advice or support in launching your own business.
Yeah, I'm not really, honestly, I've not really been asking them too much in terms of for business advice in terms of how they launch their business or that kind of stuff, because I've been so focused on the actual technical side of things. But, Digital Craft's been great so far. My professor, Sean, he's, still always there on Slack. I've maintained a relationship with him. When I was in Atlanta last week, I got a burger with him. So it's, still good to keep that connection going. Probably pestering him way too often with different questions. Saying if this broken, and then and also the funny thing is with the time differences, I'll send him a message saying, why is this broken? And then before he can even wake up, say, don't worry, man, fixed it. So he's probably got quite a few sort of rants and ravings that went from one-sided conversations in a Slack channel with me. And then also, Digital Crafts have been supportive in terms of wanting to try this out, to giving me feedback on the kind of things they'd be looking for. Because obviously everyone has a marketing department now. So sort of working with Tasha and talking to her about, what they'd like and, kind of things that they'd like to see in the kind of product like this. So it's been good. They've been very supportive, and, hope it continues.
That's awesome. And I'm interested in how your previous background in journalism and also launching other business ideas has been useful in getting you to this point.
I think honestly, I wouldn't be where I am right now without the previous experience I've had. I obviously launched an Vol, didn't end up running with successful, didn't turn out to be a successful, long-term process. I learned a lot from that in terms of how to dedicate my time to different parts of the process and not just spending my time, just playing with the technical side of things, but actually getting out there and making sure people actually want what you have versus just playing with it. So that was one aspect of it. I also learned that B2B is probably going to be a lot more easy to see in terms of profitability. So that's also a good thing. But in terms of my journalism experience, honestly, if I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to build this, because there are people who could build this technically, no problem. There are fantastic developers out there building way more complex stuff. And there are people in journalism who can search fantastically on social media and find all sorts of good things, breaking events, real-time information. But there are very few people I know, because I know a lot of the people on the social media news gathering side of things, and who don't have, so very few people have both skills. So I know a lot of people in the social media news gathering side of things, but I don't know any of those who have any sort of serious web development skills. And then when it comes to web development people, I don't know many, I've not bumped into anyone yet who's got serious, social news gathering search abilities. So I think what I'm trying to do here is I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts about seeing how people take, one aspect they've been working in one business and combining it with something else and launching into a successful business. So I spent a while thinking about, okay, if I was looking at the skills that I have, which are unique to my development as a professional, that would be my sort of social news gathering abilities. What can I do with this that nobody else can do? That's where I sort of focus on this, and hopefully focusing towards businesses that can, benefit from it.
And then we already talked about your sort of biggest challenge within the actual project, but what would you say has been the biggest challenge or roadblock in your journey overall to shift into this new career path?
I'd say it's probably just the sheer scale of things you need to do. It's just so much. One of the reasons sort of my teacher talks about a lot, and I've kind of agreed with a lot, is how do you eat elephants? One bite at a time. And that's pretty much the way I've got to deal with this as well. I think my first day on this full time after getting back to the UK after vacation, after courses, I just wrote on a pad of paper, what every single task I could potentially be spending my time doing. And then sort of figuring out, okay, is this everything? So so like one of the major fears you run into is like, I'm not doing something I need to be doing right now, but I don't know what that is. I'm not doing right now. So once I could figure out everything I could do, I then sort of split up my time, on my Google Calendar to specifics of what I'm going to be doing at different time periods. So then I can make sure that, at any given time I was doing something efficiently and spending out the right kind of time on it. The biggest challenge on it is, is getting it out there to as many people and building my own social accounts from scratch, without buying fake followers or doing any sort of like, the white hat tricks that a lot of people do and sort of build out like big spammy accounts but with no real content. So doing it the right way and trying to really build it out, focusing on good products and good value and finding good customers and building a good thing for, good potential customer base.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to do all of that stuff really easily.
Thank you.
And then this is my last question now. What advice do you have for other people who perhaps have a business idea and are thinking about going through a coding bootcamp so that they can build it themselves?
Do it. I think the most important thing is just, there's no point sitting on the sideline saying, I've got this great idea, and then suddenly see someone else do it or some of the business goes out. So you kind of one of those people like, oh man, I thought about that. So I thought about this. Like, lots of people think about a lot of things, but actually taking the action out there to go out there and put your neck on the line and go do it, that's a whole other step. So, people say, like, why you talk about how you built this and what your idea is. I was like, well, because I know how much work went into it. So somebody's going to take, just from hearing my idea and hearing from how I built it, to go out and build the same thing again. So I take my hat off to them because it's not easy. Like, I spent a lot of time going through this. I imagine anyone else will. But in terms of practical advice, I think if you've got an idea, I'd try and write down or talk to someone you might be technically minded already about the different sort of components of what you're looking to build, and make sure that the aspects that you're going to need for that match up to the bootcamp course you're going to take. So, like, for what I was looking for, I knew it was web focused, so I was much more focused on sort of JavaScript and React and Node and the stuff that would be on this course. So I made sure it lined up perfectly to what I wanted to get out of it, rather than being too Python driven. We did learn Python, but this obviously isn't that. But rather than being too Python driven or data science driven or something like that, and just write down some ideas. So you want to take full advantage of the course. Like, you've got 4 or 5 group projects you're going to work on. Make sure you don't go into those projects with no ideas and spend time before your course writing down ideas. So then when you come into those projects and you see what you're about to cover ahead, you can then, use that as an opportunity to build out a portion of whatever you're at, so you can go out and then try that again later. One of the parts of the projects I ended up building with my group members, a matchmaking engine similar to Tinder. So, to build out an application at some point, so I'm matching up other people. I could then use that in the future as a basis to go off and build that again later. So, it's always just taking an absolute advantage of everything you're going into that course for.
Well, that's really good advice. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And is there anything else that you wanted to add about your project or your experience before we finish?
No, just if you're watching this, go ahead and sign up. socialwise.io.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Jack, and all the best with SocialWise. It looks like an awesome app, and I think, I don't know how people wouldn't find it useful. So yeah, good luck with it, and I hope it goes really well.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
You too.